guys definitely had off from filming, but a lot of what we do is trying to push kids on the app that we were able to launch last year.
Okay.
July of last year.
All right.
And the app is designed to allow kids to pretty much automate their recruiting process,
Okay.
where they can create a profile for free, upload their videos, upload their highlights, edit their highlights, put their statistics on there, and then they create that profile is also replicated on the coaches and the resources and in the community and at the collegiate level.
Okay.
So it's like a social media platform for athletes.
Yeah.
And for the past year, we've been advocating for the athletes, getting them on the profile, and then going to different camps and combines and verifying their statistics, capturing these athletes in a net, and then taking it to our network of coaches so they can gain some exposure.
Okay.
And right now we're in developmental mode where we're finally building out the coaches' profile.
Okay.
So the network that we have, rather than us going and bringing that net to them, now they can digitally create their profile and actually connect with these kids on the platform.
Okay.
And then for guys like you who are in the community, we call you resources.
I'm a resource.
Right.
Okay.
And so you would be able to...
feel important now.
Yeah,
I didn't know I was a resource.
you would be able to create your own profile as well.
Right.
Tell the community exactly what you do for kids.
Okay.
And the AI in our app basically takes kids, their age group, their position, and it calculates their inefficiencies and their deficiencies.
Okay.
And the AI will basically tell them, like, hey, we realize that the velocity on your ball isn't coming out as fast, or your 40 is not as fast, or academically you're behind for kids that are your age, in your position, in your bracket. Here are the resources in the area that can help you academically, physically, on your speed or on your skill set. And we connect those athletes with people like you.
Okay.
And so we're building that out as well.
Okay.
So while these guys had off last night,
we're
in full development. We're in full development mode. That's something.
So you were working. They were like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Hit the.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean,
I'm joking, guys.
Definitely a husband, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he's gonna have some chores.
Yeah.
And some duties.
Yeah.
I don't know about these knuckleheads, these single guys. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. Right. No, I was sitting there watching scores, waiting, and as soon as the scores were up, I had them set and ready to go.
Yeah, it's pretty cool when you're sitting there. At one time, I was coaching at private school, so I was coaching at Woodbury, and I had all these quarterbacks that were playing public school. So what I found myself doing before you guys came along was Friday night was kind of like an ESPN scoreboard, because I'm wanted to see how the quarterbacks are doing. You kind of get tucked in the thing, and then we'd go out and play on Saturday. So I really like what you guys are doing, and it's good. I'm biased about Northern Virginia football, especially the players that play here.
Same here, bro.
I'm about to say, so are we, brother.
So the things that you guys are doing to shine a light on it, I really really appreciate it. And I don't know who pats you on the back, but if I could do it, I'd do it.
Oh man,
no, we appreciate that. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Everybody has a story. Like my story, because I went to Centerville High School.
Okay.
I'm a Wildcat.
Okay.
Right, through and through.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter the crap that I talk about them. It doesn't matter how good or how bad they are.
Some love last week.
I'm a Wildcat through and through.
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about that program.
Right.
And that passion has spread all over Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
Because my story is I was underdeveloped athlete, under recruited, but I was able to get a shot because my best friend Patrick Shield, he was a 4-star athlete out of Centerville High School, 6'6", 285, going into his junior year, and everybody and their mother came to see him. And while he was getting all the scholarships, I was kind of catching the ones that came in to see him, knew they didn't have a shot, but realized there were other opportunities at the school. And so shout out to Coach Skinner, shout out to Mike Brown, who ended up creating my highlight film. And Coach Skinner really did a good job pulling me out of classroom. Whatever coaches came to see Pat, he ended up introducing me. And, ended up going to Syracuse, realizing that everyone's story was really different, but also realizing, like, I went to a public school in Northern Virginia. A lot of my teammates came from Gonzaga.
Yep.
Right.
You know, they came from DeMatha. They came from St. John's. They
Right.
came from Good Counsel. And I'm starting over these guys.
Right.
Yeah, I was a 2.5-year starter. So like, it was one of those things where I realized like, okay, it doesn't necessarily matter where you come from.
Right.
It just matters
Can
what
you
you know. You know, can you play?
Can you play?
You know, what type of exposure do you have?
Right.
What do you know about the recruiting process?
Right.
Right. And who do you have advocating for you in
Yeah.
the background? So I came back and realized like what Facebook did for normal people, what LinkedIn did for, you know, employees and employers, we're really trying to do for athletics and athletes.
Yeah.
And so from 2010, when I graduated on till now, I've been trying to find the right opportunity and the right people to connect with and develop, not only develop the app, but when we finally went on that process, I said, you know what? We need to get a running head start and created a relationship with the community.
Okay.
And how can we do that without being attached to one school or
Right.
one particular high school or one particular
Right,
coach
right,
or
right.
one particular family or kid?
Yeah.
How do we do that on a grand scale? And so that's how Dark Visors was created. We really wanted to just, like you said, we were passionate about Northern Virginia
Yes.
football. All these guys here played Northern
Yeah.
Virginia football.
That's
And
great.
so we just wanted to make sure that we put on for our area
Right.
and that if people were putting on in our area that you know that we did our best for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how we came out.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
it's good. I find, you know, talk about recruiting because I specialize in quarterbacks, and so one of the things I think your app kind of solves is I have a kid that's under recruited, a quarterback, and I said, do you want to get your recruiting started? And they'll say, yeah, and I'll say, you know, there's 3 things that recruited. So first of all, I'll tell them there's 800 schools that play college football. I said, how many of them know that you want to play college football? And they'll go, none. Or maybe they know 3. I said, there's 800.
Right.
So we've got to begin to contact those schools and let them know that you want to play college football. The second thing is, I think it's real important, I think your app kind of hits on, is that there's 3 things that, my understanding, recruiters want to know up front. Can I get you into my school? What's your 40 time? And what's your height and weight? So at the quarterback position, what I constantly tell people, the great thing about that is the first 2 things you can have an impact on. Right. The third one you don't. I mean, you just are what you are. But if you want to get your recruiting started, you can't ignore the height and the weight. It's like if I go into the grocery store and I want Fruit Loops, you're going to have a whole line of Frosted Flakes and Lucky Charms, but I'm not going to get them because I want the Fruit Loops. And I said, to get your recruiting started, you have to pay attention to that. And so they go, well, how do I know where to go? I said, just open up a roster. Open up a roster, and if you see 6'5", 230, 6'4", 215, 6'4", 6'5", 220, guess what? They're not looking for you. It doesn't mean you can't play there. But if you walk in and a 6'5" guy walks in, they're going to go to him and ignore you. So from a quarterback perspective, I always have them pay attention to the height and weight on the roster to get the recruiting started. And I tell them, and I think this is what you're kind of hinting at with your app, is that I don't care what level it is.
Right.
What I want for you and what your goal is to get another college coach talking about you. That's the goal in recruiting, because they trust each other's estimation, right? And a lot of guys don't know, the college coaches that I know of, they really rely on other college coaches because that switch can be flicked at any time, and everybody's got to get up and move and find a job. So, you know, if you land in the wrong place, what I tell my quarterbacks, if you land in the wrong place, I said, the first thing they're going to say is, we'd love to have you, but I can't get you. And I said, your next question should be, who should we call? Because he has a buddy in mind. And I find out that with my quarterbacks, that kind of modality helps out a lot. You've got to start contacting schools. You've got to make sure that you're contacting the schools that are looking for a player your height and weight. It's your grades, it's your 40 time, it's your height and weight. It's the eye contest, right? Not fair, but that's what it is. And you've been in there. I remember Maryland when they switched over. This is before Loxley. I remember talking to, I think Barry, I forget the guy recruiting name. He's been in the game for a while, but he was telling me that his position coach, his defensive back coach, gave him specific metrics. He wanted 6 something, 180, whatever it was. And he told me he brought in a guy that was a baller. He thought like, the Honey Badger type player. And as soon as they put him on the scale, the defensive back coach walked away. Now, it doesn't mean that kid can't play somewhere, right? It's just at that institution he wasted his time because this guy was looking for this and looking for that. Right or wrong, that's the way it starts a lot of times. So I'm glad you guys are doing it. Any efficiency you can bring to the recruiting process, it saves parents a lot of money, I think, is well worth it because it is probably the most inefficient transaction that anybody will ever get involved in. Every year you got this new wave of parents and players who don't know what's going on.
Yep.
And I equate it like they're on separate ends of the room, and the room's dark, and everybody has on a blindfold. Like that's what it's like, and you're kind of lucky that you maneuver and get. And that's why recruits get missed all the time.
Yep.
That plus the lack of development, which we probably talk about. But man, guys get missed all the time because now he's a little short. Now I don't want him. And then they don't understand on the other end that coaches have a little bit of CYA going on too, right? Because if I see a baller that's 5'10", he's 180, and I could bring him, man, I know this guy's the next Johnny Football. But we're looking for 6'3", 215. If I bring in the 5'10", 180 guy and he busts, just for whatever reason, just like anybody else would bust, I'm out of job.
That's on you.
I'm out of job.
Yep. You're relocating your family.
I'm out of job.
Yep.
So that's the other part. In terms of getting recruiting started, guy's a 30 offer kid. He's got a different set of decisions at the end. They all have the same decision at the end, in my opinion. But that guy's a 30 offer kid, and I've handled some of those guys. That's a different deal, right? Guys are driving to Orange, Virginia at 6 o'clock in the morning to watch you throw. Stanford's coming out. Wisconsin's flying in. That's a different parameter. But for most of the guys, that recruiting process, as far as what I've seen, is you are under-recruited, right? There's only so many 5-stars. Like, people don't even understand that. Sometimes I ask them, what's the 5-stars? I said, well, in any class, there's 32 5-stars. I go, do you know why? And they go, no. I said, well, there's only 32 NFL teams. So what they're projecting at this point is they say these 32 guys project their first-round draft picks. And I said, do you know how many 4-stars there are? They go, no. I said, 64, because those rounds 2 and 3. Now, when you look at about stars, you look at any one class, in your position, doesn't mean there's 32 quarterbacks that are 5-stars. Some classes you may only have maybe 4 rated in the top 4, right? Doesn't mean you can't play. So anyway, I got off track.
No, man, you're good.
You're on track.
No, man. One of the things I love hearing stories about the honey badger, baby honey badger, like you say, right?
Yeah.
Because what the app does is it allows coaches to put in those parameters.
Yeah.
And so when they log off or when they walk away from their phone, all the kids who meet their requirements are going to be directly funneled to them.
That filtering is a big part of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then on the kids' end, when they put in their parameter or when they put in their statistics, all of the colleges in which they fall under their prerequisites or the variables that they're seeking, those universities are going to be sent to those kids.
Right.
And so to your point, saves colleges, saves coaches, saves kids, saves parents a lot of time, money, and energy, and that's what the digital age is about, right? The digital age is about being efficient. It's about maximizing efficiency, and so what we hope is that kid won't have to work his butt off in the off season, show up at whatever university with the coach who just basically showed up in the weight room just to see the measurement.
Right.
He could have been proactive in saying, "Hey, man, this kid's wasting his time. Like, I don't want him here."
Right.
He could very well spend the weekend somewhere else that is interested in him, and because you only get a couple weekends, right?
I'll tell you a recruiting story that happened just about wasting time. This happened last summer with 2 quarterbacks I was working with, and kind of knowing ahead of time like where you should be and trying to figure that out. So there were 2 kids that headed into this camp. One is the which class is coming up? The 2026 class, 2026. Yep. And then the other kid is a 2028 kid. Big kid, nice. Probably shouldn't have been at the camp, but he went. So the second kid, the younger kid, I had told him, I don't do the recruiting side, but like I said, I'll help quarterbacks and their families understand, hey, this is what you need to do to get things started. And among those things, communicating. Is I say, if you're going to a camp, make sure that you let them know that you're coming to the camp. Introduce yourself, right? And so The younger guy did that. He introduced himself. He says, "Coach, I look forward. Here's my highlight. Here's my height and weight, blah, blah, blah." So they get to the camp. When they get to the camp, the senior quarterback, he's a senior in the fall now. When he gets to the camp, the OC almost automatically ignores the older kid, who's a recruitable kid, and goes right to my guy. Recognized him, said, "Hey, you must be so-and-so." And he goes over and shakes his hand. And as the camp goes on, the older quarterback virtually gets ignored. And the OC quarterback coach spends some time with my guy during the camp. And what happens is that they had already signed their 2026 kid. So the 26, even though he's recruitable, they had their guy. So he was wasting his time at the camp. And to prove how recruitable was, that's like on a Wednesday. Saturday he goes to another camp, he gets an offer. But he wasted his time at that camp. Now, this isn't how all coaches work, but this particular OC coach, he was using the camps to make a list of people down the line that he wanted to keep his eye on.
Yep.
And, excuse me, as I went to the camp, he didn't have a 2028. So when he worked with the kid and saw him, he pulled him up at the end of the camp, and you know how that goes. So my guy starts getting nervous because after everybody, he says, "Just stay right here." But what he announced to him, he says, "I don't have a 2028, and you're the best one that I've seen."
Okay.
And so he kind of lucked in to go into the wrong camp. But that's ultimately what you want is that you go to a camp, you're going to get evaluated. So,
Yeah, I mean, and it's all about exposure, right? It's all about exposure, being at the right place at the right time. And to your point, like, parents don't do that recruiting 201 type of research. We want to go to all the local camps. We want to go to all the camps that we are fans of, right? Not realizing that you only get but so many opportunities. And even the ones that you're put your 5 favorite colleges together, those may not even be reasonable, right? Because you're not looking at depth charts, you're not looking at recruiting classes, you're not looking at signing. Like, even to go as far as like having an actual realistic conversation and transparent conversation with yourself. What's my record? What are my statistics? The level of competition that I'm playing versus the kid that I could potentially be facing up at, in my recruiting process. What are his statistics? What are his measurables? What is his level of competition? Right? Because I know I always get beat up for this when I argue that there's layers to it, right? And there's levels to it, literally levels to it, where you could be balling out especially in Virginia, you could be balling out at the Class 3 level and be All-American at the Class 3 level and throw for 400 yards every single game and 5 touchdowns. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do it at the 6th level, right? You may be a running back that could rush for 1,700 yards at the Class 3 level, but the trenches matter at the Class 6 level, and that may not translate.
That's another world we talk about.
Exactly, and so I always, when parents ask me about the recruiting process and what they need to do to put themselves in a better position, I always go back to educate yourself as much as possible. Educate yourself about the process, educate yourself about rosters, educate yourself about who's in your class and what type of competition. Have a real conversation about yourself. Educate yourself about eligibility, the transfer portal, NIL now, right? That's an entirely different beast. And just how marketable your kid is, because sometimes it may just come down to, especially probably at the quarterback position, right? Sometimes it comes down to marketability. Are you able to be the face of my program?
Well, I mean, you're talking upper echelon.
I think that's at any level, right?
Well, I don't know. Like I said, 4- and 5-star guys with that ability, they don't drop out of the sky. You get a chance to work with them or play with them a little bit.
They're unicorns.
And they tend to be spread out. Every now and then, especially in Northern Virginia, we talk about that. But Northern Virginia does a good job of keeping those guys separated. But every now and then, you can find a team. Like, I was fortunate enough to coach a team at Flint Hill that had 5 of them on one team, right? We had NC State, Oklahoma State, Wake Forest, UPenn, JMU, all on the same team. Like, that doesn't happen very often because Northern Virginia, and I'm not saying it's bad, but Northern Virginia does a good job of keeping them apart. So those guys, the chance to coach them comes along every now and then. The bulk of what, to me, makes up college football are the other guys.
Correct.
The other guys. And the one thing, you guys got a model and it's efficient and stuff like that, but I where's my country guy? I'm a country boy. So for me, it's really simple. I think when it comes to these camps, too many parents think that, Well, if I go to the camp, they'll discover them. It's like, you got to understand, it's not like coaches are sitting there, man, I can't wait till June comes along.
Right.
Exactly. And so that's not going to happen. That just from that, if a parent understands that, then you begin to understand that it takes some start here. The other thing I find out with parents coming in is sometimes they just think it's a natural step. And it is in their mind, right? He wants to play football, plays youth football. He wants to play middle school football, he plays middle school football. He wants to play high school football, he plays high school football. He wants to play college football.
Yeah, that's when the door stops.
It stops. The first thing when a young person or a parent asks me, I said, the first thing he has to do is he has to make himself recruitable. And I go, what do you mean? I said, well, he has to start working to the right standard. I don't care what his height and weight is. If he wants to do this, he's got to make himself recruitable. And I said, the standard, if he wants to do it, that he has to set at the beginning is, what do I need to do to be the best player at my high school? The best, bar none. I said, if you start working to make that happen, a couple things are going to happen. One, your team's going to get a hell of a lot better. Mm-hmm. And then two, there should be no question in your mind that if you're the best player at your high school, at any of these schools around, regardless of the level, you're going to be able to go play in college. So recruiting starts with you. Now, for me, after that, there are indirect methods of recruiting, and then there's direct methods. And then you should spend a majority of your time on direct methods. Now, these indirect methods, like you and QB hit lists and things like that, well, you're kind of bridging the gap a little bit because you're connected. But those things that are relatively free, spend some time with those, but not much. But you've got to spend the time on the direct methods. You've got to get to the decision maker. You know what I mean? And if you guys are delivering a way to get to the decision maker, then that's a great thing. But at the end of the day, you've got to get to the decision maker. And it's not a showcase. It's not this. It's not that. It's getting with those coaches. There's 6 levels to this thing.
Yep.
And most people don't understand that. And what they also don't understand is how, like, at these different 6 levels, what they don't understand is that if it's competitive football, at any of these levels, the program is run essentially the same way. Why? Because it's either run by a future Division I coach or a former Division I coach. And you've been on enough football fields. You roll up, and there's only one way practice can kind of happen. It's got to be organized and efficient. If you watch a field and it doesn't look that way, you know something's wrong.
Oh, yeah. Right. You can feel it when you walk in.
And you can just see it. And so that's the way these programs are run. And for most of these guys that haven't played on a playoff team, or they haven't been an all-district guy, if they go to NAI or they go to a Division III program, they go to a Division II program, that's going to be more football, more organized than they've ever seen in their life, with better players than they've ever seen in their life.
Agreed.
Exactly.
And they don't understand that. And now it's gotten compressed, right, because you set the limits at FBS, right, to 105. So then they have like 2 practice squads. And at the quarterback position, I said, don't even think about it. It's like they're not in the business of pulling high school guys up. They're in the portal business. If they need somebody to back them up or fill a loop, they just go right to the portal. It happened to one of my quarterbacks. Grant Wilson was at ODU, and he hit the portal after his second year, and he was just there. And Signetti called him. Not another. Signetti called him. The reason Signetti called him is because remember when JMU was unranked and they were making all that noise? Mm-hmm. Well, ODU went over there on Thursday night and they almost got him.
They did, yeah.
Right? They almost got him. That was Grant. And so Signetti calls him up and he says, Grant, what are you doing? And Grant says, I don't know. He says, well, get your butt up to Bloomington. Now, they had Mendoza, but they were bringing him in. So they're not going to the high school. And they have Mendoza's brother, but they're not going to high school in Indiana or Nebraska or wherever. He's going to a guy that's been in the program, taken a team to a bowl game, right? And he saw him perform, and that's the guy he calls to bring up in that area. So, at certain positions, you've got to understand that. So that compresses the opportunities. So what people think they know about Division II, Division III, NAIA, and JUCO is about to rapidly change. You got Division III guys now that are having to get into roster management, right? Because you used to be like Division III, just go to school, go out, do everything. You can sit college. Now, because everything's getting pushed down and they know their competitors are starting to pull some people here, it's different. Right?
It's a recruiting tool for them now,
right?
Yeah.
Because they understand that they're the bridge, to the big money.
Yeah.
And so it's, hey man, we know you have talent. We know you're going to get looked.
Right.
Why don't you come here, ball out on film, and then we're going to give you an opportunity to propel yourself up to the D1, D5
if you're
level.
that guy, it will show up.
It will show on film.
I've got a quarterback down at CNU who's he had a unique experience. He went to App State. He, in my opinion, kind of chased an offer, but he winds up there miserable, and then he hits the portal and doesn't have anything. So when he comes out, ODU, they wanted him a PWO, but he'd been through that. So I would have had 3 quarterbacks in one quarterback room, believe that or not, right? I had Grant Wilson. I had coach. I didn't train, but I had Coach Jack Shields, his senior at Centerville, and then Connor was maybe going to move into that room, but he looked at it and he goes, "No, I know what standing around means, and I know what this pecking order means." So he goes to CNU, and there was another good quarterback, Dzersky, who won a county state championship with South County. He was there, but he had some injury issues. So sure enough, Connor gets on that field the first year, plays a little bit. Actually plays against another one of my quarterbacks. That's kind of cool things. My quarterbacks meet in college. And then last year, he took over, and he was Offensive Player of the Year. This year, he leads the nations in efficiency. And Connor came around this summer, and as soon as I saw him throw, I'm like, bro, I don't want to scare anybody seeing you, but he's not going to last long. Somebody's going to come get him now, to what you're saying. And he did it by performance. It's just so much above, and now you're looking for a guy who has some program experience, right? Advanced in his degree, handles his business. You don't have to babysit him or any of that mess. And somebody's going to pluck him. Now, whether he takes it or not, that'll be up to him. But yeah, that's the new age.
Yeah, man, it really is. I was explaining. Gainesville last year had a great running back, Coven Smith, and I was explaining to his dad during the recruiting process once he had signed with I think it was UL Lafayette.
Okay. ULala.
Yeah, I explained to him like, hey man, that's the route now. Like when you're under scouted and you don't have a lot of opportunities, you take the opportunity that's going to allow you to ball out.
Yep.
And then you allow that performance to propel yourself into the next level. Make yourself the obvious choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And he has an opportunity to do that. Another guy who I really think is going to do it is a guy that we see around here or saw around here for the past couple of years, Dom Nicely.
Yes.
He's already proving it right now.
Especially what he's been able to do in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So the area has talent, and when kids get plucked from here, if this transfer portal stays the way it is, which I think they're reducing it to one.
Yeah, they moved it to one.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have closed the spring. They should have closed the winter one because, like to Ryan Day's point at Ohio State, I could lose players in the middle of my national championship run because you want to have a portal during the playoffs.
Man, well, I agree with the way the portal is set up, because as a player, like I want to be able to know where I'm going in the spring to be able to compete in the off season, and then to be able to learn the playbook in the off season and to go into the summer with my bearings, to be able to transfer midsummer. Or at the end of the spring, beginning of the summer, that's a little tough, especially because there's not a lot of coaches on campus other than your strength and conditioning coach.
But what if that portal was opened up after the national championship game? You're still in that winter, but you're not deep into the spring.
Then you're missing academically.
Okay.
So
that's why I'm asking.
What did he say? What did he say? What?
So open the portal.
No. He said a curse word about academics, you said?
I said, then you're.
I'm just joking.
Well, eligibility is still a thing.
Academics are important.
Listen. Degree education. I'm just joking.
Yeah. Well, that's also on the app. You got to put your GPA. SAT
I used to have a coach that used to say, you're here for school first, and then football second.
Yeah,
right.
I had a guy when I was at Woodbury where there were a lot of guys that were around. They were getting ready for the raw ball here, and he would joke. He says, I'm here to play football, not play school. As a kid that wound up at Stanford, but he would say. So sometimes we joke about the academics, but it's important. Yeah.
No, I think what you're saying is definitely important for the kids to understand that. Even if you are Mr. All-American and you're teetering that 3-star rank and you're getting a lot of offers, even when you do get to the D1 school, they're still looking to replace you.
Yep.
They are.
Right?
And I think you mentioned a lot of things.
Year.
Once you like I said, my walk up is a little bit different than yours. I like the app because I'm really starting that raw phase where, okay, this is, I'm going to give you a labor intensive way to get this done. But once you get set up, it'll lead you to the spots in your app. So, but layers to this thing.
Yeah.
So now you have offers coming in and you've kind of mentioned those things. Now I got to evaluate, okay, do I want to be there? Right. I think sometimes kids leave that out because what they don't understand at that level is football's going to get really tough.
It's a job.
And well, it's just going to get tough. It's going to have some bumps in it, and you're going to be miserable. At some point in that process, there's something's going to happen where they take reps away from you without talking to you, all the stuff they do at college. I'm sure they didn't take any reps away from him, but
oh no, look,
he'll
man,
tell you. He'll tell you.
I went into deep depression my second and third year because I still wasn't getting any. I mean, it's the trenches. It's a little different. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is different. But the other thing too is what I've seen common. They'll suddenly just take a rep away from them. Like have that rhythm of going in, and suddenly they'll say, "You two get in," and nothing's said, and now you're sitting back. 4 and 5 are taking your reps, and you don't know what you did. And you're in a certain program with certain environment, certain coach thing, and you want to ask and you want to say something, but you don't know what to do. So you're calling home like, what should I do in this thing? And it's like, let it play out. Doesn't seem right because you put so much in to kind of climb to 3 or whatever it is, and all of a sudden you don't know what's going on. So what I'm saying is it can get tough for a lot of reasons. And the worst thing is being in a place around people that you don't like when it gets tough.
Yep.
That's one. 2 is you got to look at, all right, I'm not going to be given anything, but is there a pathway for me to get on the field, which you were saying about, evaluating rosters, or there are 5 running backs in that program.
Right.
I think also, too, you need to look at what happened to the guys before you, right? Where did they go? Like, did they get degrees? Did they get drafted or whatever? Because that can kind of give you an indication of where you might wind up. Sometimes that's not evaluated enough to kind of look at, okay, that's where he went. Okay, there's a chance I can go there. And then finally, does the scheme kind of fit you? Like
that's the most important.
Right? Like if I'm a quarterback, and they are a run-heavy quarterback, yeah, I can run, but do I really want to take that type of beating? Am I that guy? Am I that Tim Tebow type of guy? Or no, I can run, but this type of. So I think that's the main thing of getting the options coming your way. It's not so much the ego of the offers. It's that when you generate that interest from multiple directions, it now puts you in a leverage position where you can now sit back versus if you don't do anything, don't get on your app or don't do some of the things I suggest, you're just sitting there at the end. It's like, that. And then a lot of the things at the lower end, I think players don't understand is they say, well, I need tape. I need varsity tape. I need varsity tape. I'm like, nah, not really. Not Division III level. Not Division II, maybe FBS. You can go to a camp, go to the right camp, and those guys can kind of figure out, hey, you got the body type, you have the athleticism.
Yes.
I said that's enough to get started at some of these levels. And again, the way I work it is your goal in the early stages should be get college coaches talking about you. However you get it done, get them talking about you through your performance, your evaluation, whatever it is, and then you can take it from there.
Yeah.
It's just,
no, it's true. Going into my senior year, going into my junior year, I had no offers. Going into my senior year, I had a couple of soft ones. I had transitioned from linebacker to defensive end because my Coach Skinner said, you're going to be a really slow linebacker or you're going to be a really good defensive end. And so I made the transition. I had no film as a defensive end, but I got offers based on the camps that I showed up to. And then my athleticism. I'll never forget Coach Pratt from Akron. My first offer, he came in and he said, you're a little undersized. And in my head, I'm like, even for the MAC? And he goes, but I tell you what, I'm going to give you this basketball. You dunk this basketball. You'll show me you have the enough athleticism. And I'll offer you right here. And I'm in Tim's, and this is the early 2000s. So I'm wearing baggy, baggy everything, a tall tee if you're from Northern Virginia. But I went up and I piped it, and I got my first offer. And he was like, oh.
Okay. Yeah. And it's funny. In his whole evaluation of you, he still couldn't see that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And by your reaction, he was surprised that you could do it.
Right.
Yeah. So that at the end of the day, however it's done, getting in front of as many decision makers as you can is really the thing. Like I said, you have these indirect methods that I think are important for me. When I talk to quarterbacks, I said, imagine this is like a highway that coaches travel down. I said, these indirect methods for me are just putting you on the side of the road. And maybe they'll discover you, but that's it. But man, you gotta get yourself into this realm where a coach is evaluating you.
Yep.
So however you do it, however you streamline that process, get that focus on getting that done. So anyway.
Yeah. What's the conversation that you have with some of the kids that they put in their all, parents put in their all, right? But they just don't have that. They don't pass the eye test.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, like sometimes they don't even pass like the skills test.
Yeah.
Like what's the conversation you have with those kids and those parents?
I said, great. No, it's sometimes that usually happens on the front end.
Yeah.
Parents kind of angst. They see them kind of doing this, and they're like, they want to know up front. What do you think? I get that question a lot, and I think they ask me that. I'll get to answer your question, but I think they ask me that because it sounds like an assessment question, but the way I hear it, it's really a projection question. They want me to kind of look at this kid and say, yeah, he's above everybody else, and that means he's going to go here. And with quarterbacks, I don't do that. And the reason for it is I can't tell by looking at a 10 or 12-year-old kid, is he just playing quarterback or does he want to be a quarterback? They're two different things in my book. Now, each is okay, but if he's just playing quarterback, he's going to go about it a certain way, and he'll get certain enjoyment out of it, and it's going to wind up this way. I always tell kids, don't complain about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do, right?
Yep.
It's very common. But if that 12-year-old wants to be a quarterback, then that's a different thing. Now, in either case, what I think is I always ask them, are they having fun with the process of getting better? That's what I ask. Because if they're having fun with the process of getting better, then that's a pretty good thing. They've locked on something, they've got a goal, and they're working in a consistent, disciplined fashion toward it. I go, how do we lose? I said, if he does that, he's got a success formula for life. So maybe he doesn't become this or he doesn't become that, but that's okay. We went from here to here. For me, it's a lot about the journey, not the destination, because I don't know where any of these kids are going to wind up.
Right.
And if I have some first throw videos on my phone, and if I was to show them to you, you go, that guy wound up playing pro?
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't tell him to go play another position as soon as you saw. I'm going to show you after when the light's off. I'll show you one, right? And he was the first guy that I had that got paid professionally, played in the USFL. So I'm not in that business, right? And then if they're really worried, I said, look, don't worry about it. The game will tell them.
Right.
No. So last year I had two of the shortest quarterbacks I've ever had. Cale Yates over at Madison,
Yep.
and I had Jacob Mulhern over at Kettle Run. Both of them.
Is that Jimmy Mulhern's son?
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
Both of them.
I was thinking the same
Both
thing.
of them. I think Cale might have been able to post up in a basketball game. Mulhern might be a little bit taller. So just think about them, how many times they were told no, right? So if I looked at either one of them and say, he's too short to be a quarterback, right? I mean, how am I going to do that? Now, to tell you how these paths work out, Cale, two-sport athlete, football and baseball, and his senior year gets into the state tournament in two sports. Jacob, a three-sport athlete, gets to the state tournament in two sports, right? Both of them take undefeated teams to the state championship, and then post-career, Mulhern goes to Macon, and I think he was the only quarterback taken in that class, and then Yale goes down to Texas A&M, and he's a cadet, and he's working on that thing, right? So are you going to tell me that all the work that Cale put in and the leader that he became, right, was wasted time? No, right?
Not at all.
And the same thing, you're going to look at Jacob Mulhern and say, man, you're too small to play quarterback. You can't do these things. So somebody who would have done that to them in the beginning, I mean, I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
The game, at my position, the game will tell you whether you're a quarterback or not, because it's just going to throw stuff in your face. And what I've learned over time is that somehow, when normal people would really stop, they figure it out and they keep going. That's what makes them quarterbacks. It's not that you can throw. It's not that, because if you line quarterbacks up, at the highest level, they're just going to come in all shapes and sizes and abilities. Like if you took Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, Cam Newton, and Tom Brady and just lined them up, none of them look alike, and none of them perform the same. But all four of those guys have taken teams to the Super Bowl. All four. So it's like, what are we talking about? And for me to sit there and a 10-year-old and say, nah, that's a great outlook. Yeah. Now, I do get on their behind. When they come to me, I say, okay, here's your responsibility. Your responsibility is to work on the things that we just worked on and to get better at them by the time you see me next. You don't have to be perfect. I just need to see that you're getting better. And as long as you're doing that, we'll keep going. But if I find out that from here to here, you're not getting better, then me, you, and your parents are going to have a talk. And I always kid with them. I said, I'll still love you. I don't know about your parents. I always joke with them like that. I said, but I want them to know, like it doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? I hope that every kid that I work with understands that I know that football's something that they do. It's not who they are.
Right.
Right? And so that's why I have relationships with quarterbacks like Noah Kim is going to be on in a little bit. I've had him since second grade. Right? And it's
great kid.
Right?
Took the words out of my mouth.
Right? And so it's not just that we have this relationship. It's just that the relationship's productive in terms of what we're talking about, what we're working on. And my relationship with him is the same with any. I'm always trying to figure out a way how to move a quarterback forward and up, right? So even that kid that doesn't have a lot of ability, I'm still trying to figure out and working with him, how do I move him forward and up? Maybe it's confidence, right? So how do we get at things that he builds a little more confidence in himself? I've had some things that have driven me to tears where a couple of years ago the kid didn't have much talent, but he got into a game. And he got in a game that completed 2 passes, and the dad was overjoyed, the kid was overjoyed. You know what I mean? It's like stuff like that. And then you have big stuff that happens. But what I do, I get a lot of those moments, maybe tens of those a week, because some kid did something. I'm talking a lot. But I think one of the things that I enjoy about coaching the most, and I didn't really understand this because I would get a kind of reaction. And I always thought that I was just coaching, that it wasn't worthy of the reaction I was getting. But when I finally came to, and this is what you guys are doing too a little bit, the most powerful story in the world is the one we tell ourselves. And what I figured out was going on with my coaching when it goes really good is that I was getting players to change the story that they were telling themselves. And by product, the parents who loved them to death were seeing, like, I didn't think that was possible. They were changing the story that they were telling themselves about the kid that they love and believe in. And so that's why I love what I do, right? Because if that happens, you do get a kid to change the story. Like your story got changed about what you were telling yourself at one point, right? Just through these series of interactions, a coach that believed in you, a coach that said, here, go do this. Coach says, I'm going to give you a chance if you can do this, right?
Right.
Your whole story about yourself changed.
Right. So a fork in the road, definitely.
Yeah.
And, I tell the guys all the time because, we can – as media personnel, we can get wrapped up into the whole, like, who do you think is better than who and who's the ranking? And one thing you'll notice about our pages was we'll never rank kids. We'll rank kids by statistics. That's performance. We're just the numbers don't lie. Right. But we don't rank high schools. We don't rank kids. We don't rank by position players. We don't want to tell the narrative. We want to share the story. Right.
We're not giving out stars.
Right. We're not giving out. And I was going to say that, as far as levels, I'd never want to get into this thing where we're ranking kids. Right. I just want to present the opportunities to them. Right. I want their story to change, to your point. Right. And I want their narrative to be like, man, I wish I I wish I had to, man, look at all this opportunity I have too. Right. And when you have a platform that's able to connect you with the resources so you can get better every single day, and then connect you with the opportunities so you can have a platform to compete. That's all I ever wanted, and that's all I ever wanted to provide for anybody. And that's what you're providing as well in the community, right? It's just, when you're able to, because I've looked a lot at your page. You're very cerebral. It's less rah, and it's more teaching, right? And I always enjoy, and Brent, laughs at me when I get super amped up about it, but I always enjoy the coaches that are willing to teach the game rather than just scream the game.
Yeah.
Laugh at you.
No.
I like that you get amped up.
I do.
To your point, right? The guys who are, we call them social media warrior trainers, It's like they're doing it for the gram.
They are.
Right?
They really are. Yeah.
But then you look at a guy like Barry, and like, it's cerebral. That's a great word. He's literally teaching you the game piece by piece by piece. And I first found you a couple of years ago, just searching through Twitter, and I'm like, oh, that's Oakmar.
Yeah.
And I wanted to connect with you, so I was so glad when we bumped into you at that Westfield's WNL game.
Yeah. That was an interesting story too, with me coming down the sideline. But yeah, to your point, I think when it comes to quarterbacks, you have the term QB whisperer, and that kind of hints at this great marketing term. Whoever came up with it needs royalties, but
that's you, Barry.
Nah, it's really not. And believe me, some of the guys I've coached, not trained, they'll tell you I don't whisper. But there's time, because there's just times when, But anyway, I really think of it more as like QB engineering. So if you think about engineering, he's concerned with form, with function, with effectiveness and efficiency, and how they're building something. And another analogy I thought was good, maybe it speaks to your Instagram warriors, is there are people that can take your car and wash it in detail and make it smell good. And then there are other people that will do those things, but they'll pop the hood, run the diagnostics.
Tune it up a little bit.
So it'll look good, it'll smell good, but most importantly, it'll run better. So I aspire to be that type of guy, which is we're going to find out where it is you want to go. So if I have a 14-year-old in front of me, I have a great idea of what he's going to be able to know to do on the field. I've coached high school football for 17 years. So I know what he's going to have to know and be able to do and execute consistently. So then I've got to go back, and the way I look at it is I go, okay, what are the skills he's going to need to do these things? And I think a lot of times that's they just jump him into this, and then that's where the yelling comes in, and get your elbow up and stuff like that. So if I look at it, there's certain skills over here that have to be developed before I ask him to do it. You ready for an example? We can talk?
Yes.
I'll give you an example. Let's say that I have a quarterback, and I want him to take from under center, take a 5-step drop, and throw a post that breaks at 10 to 12 yards. All right. So I could do that and start talking about location, stuff like that. But if I'm thinking it through and I'm going to put it in a playing context, there's a couple things he's going to have to be able to do. I'm going to have to define for him in a playing context whether that post is open or not open, right?
Right.
Then I'm also going to have to say, well, if the post isn't open, then what would you do next? So if I wanted him to do that, I could stop at the post. But if I'm going to help the kid learn how to play, then there's some other things I got to add to this drill. So then I go backwards. Okay, so what does he need to know? Well, he's got to have efficient mechanics. However you want to do it, you got to consistently get the ball from your hand to the other hand, or else we're not calling the play. So we have a way that we teach mechanics. Somebody would go against it. I don't care. Seems to work for my quarterback.
Right.
And it's a simple matter. It's a shoulder, foot strike, hip, elbow throw. That's what we teach, and I can reproduce it. I can get you up here and get you to do it real quick. So that's it. Now, the next thing is I've got to teach them the footwork that goes with that pass. So it's a 5-step drop. Okay, now we're concerned with efficiency, yes? If you stand behind a right-handed quarterback, if you sit about 6 yards behind him, and you put him under, even in the gun, the first thing you'll see is his right foot will cross all the way behind his left foot. And then his left foot will go over here, and then his right foot will finally get set. That's not very efficient. So I've got to tell him, hey, there's a thing called the midline. It's important for a lot of reasons, but it's important from a protection standpoint that you drop in a very efficient manner on that midline. Two things are going to happen. One is you're going to get from point A to point B quicker, and the coach won't yell at you about getting the ball out quicker. Two, by going to the midline here, you're going to help your center guard combination, because they got a lot to deal with, and they can't see, and they have to learn how to protect this, and you're going to help them protect you. Now, the second thing about this drop is I need it always at 5 yards. Why? Because your tackles, they have what they call body position, but relative position. With their eyes not looking on you, they have to get to a specific spot and start to fight there, because that specific spot cuts the direct line off to you. Now, if you're short or long, then their spot doesn't work. They think they're good, and the guy gets you. So we got to get on the midline to help the center the guard center guard combination. We got to get to the right depth so that we can help the tackles. So your drop and everything relates to your protection.
Correct.
All right, now we're almost there. So now I can get them to.
I hate it already as a defensive.
I'm about to say, I'm like,
I'm over here like.
So now we can get to the drop, but remember, I got to prepare him for in case it's a no.
Right.
So if it's a no, then we've got a specific kind of body movement combination that we're going to move. So if we stop at 5 and we don't like it, the head's going to move first, the feet are going to move first, we're going to set and we'll throw. We can either pivot off our left foot or adjust, it doesn't matter, but then we're going to throw. Then we'll get set. So I'll use a rhythm. I'll go head, feet, set, throw. Right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we don't like it. Head, feet, set, throw. It gives them a nice rhythm to get to where we're going. All right, we're almost there. Now I got to give them an element of time. So now I put them on the tee and I hit the timer. And I say, all right, you've got to drop back to 5 yards and be perfectly set, most in balance, before the buzzer goes off at 2 seconds. And if you do that, I'll let you throw the ball to the guy, stationary receiver. And so first when they do that, they're scrambling. 2 seconds is crazy. But they get more relaxed. I'm correcting him on the efficiency. The more he's on that line, the quicker he can get back. And I keep pushing that timer down until it gets to 1.4.
Reps.
Now at 1.4, we're balancing. Now we're ready to play football.
Yep.
All right, so now what I do first is I take a stationary receiver and I take a defender. And I'm telling them, look, there's post-snap and there's pre-snap and post-snap. We live in a post-snap world. So this can look bad, right? When we start, he's right in the space we want to dominate. But as you drop back, he may go this way, and then it's okay to throw, right? And if it's a no, then I want you to use your progression footwork and get to here. So the first thing quarterbacks will do when you turn them loose and they got a decision to make and they haven't done it before is when they see the guy head out on step 3, they'll stop and throw the ball. I go, whoa, that route's not going to be there to your 5th step. So you can't do that. You've got to take it all the way to 5, and if it's clean, throw. The other one is that they'll slow down their feet because they're like waiting. So on a 5-step drop, now they drop 2.5 yards and throw. I go, you can't do that. The guard's going to be sitting in your lap. You got to take care of your drop and then worry about the ball. And then now we're building something, right? And just through that process, I've taught a guy how to not only make a decision, but how to progress to the next one. And then we'll add another defender on the dig, and I'll stationary another shallow. And so now when I see that he can go through it rhythmically, I put the timer back on. Remember 2 seconds when he was straining?
1.4.
Now I can put it at 2.1, and he can get through 3 choices in about 2.1. So now he's learned how to say yes, no. He's learned how to progress, and he's developing a sense of time in the pocket. And so then now you're getting a kid who now can go out and play. And those little layers that I didn't cover in detail, now they're more understandable to him. So if I go back to him and start saying, hey, you really need to understand your protection.
Right.
Well, we've already introduced the concept that he understands. He also knows now that how he does his thing can really affect. So if you've been bitching about your protection, let's look at your drop and what you're doing, right? Those types of things. So I didn't mean to get up.
No, bro, that for
anyway.
Defensive guy, but me, receiver, I love that because now I have a deeper thought process of what a quarterback thinks.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here listening to you talk about post corner. I'm like, well, are we too high? Are we quarters? Are we?
Well, that's later on, right? That's later.
Yeah.
That's later on. So I was just saying the one example. If I'm going to take a kid and throw a post,
right?
It's like those, and those are the things that we work on to help a quarterback. One thing I take pride in, if you were to look at the quarterbacks that have been with me for a while, they can play. You know what I mean? Like Jack Martin can play. Tyler Stennig at WNS has gotten a lot better. He can play a little bit. Cole Sandberg had something to do with when he was early. He can play. Who else we're going to mention? Ryan Carlson can play. I'm forgetting Joey Lee at Mount Vernon. He can play. You know what I mean? These are some of the guys that I work with in the area, and I really take pride in. And they, except for Joe's got a little work to do, but their completion percentages are also up there too. They're not careless with the ball, and a lot of it has to do with how we work with them. But the other part of it is those guys I just mentioned. It's not unusual for them all to be in the same training session. Mm-hmm. Imagine that. Mm-hmm. Imagine that, right?
That's a D1 session
right
there.
Imagine that's going on. We're not even talking about Sean Sutherland at Potomac, and I'm going to forget names. So forgive me if I didn't mention your name. But
so to your point, this is why football is such and that's why I love football, because it's an 11-man We're talking about one side of the ball. 11 man. If I don't run my depth to 10 to 12, the quarterback's looking me off, and someone else is getting the ball. If the tackles don't get to their depth, he's coming off the edge and he's eating that quarterback alive, right? So it's a beautiful thing how it all flows together, and talking to everybody about different things and hearing your perspective from the quarterback side. It's enlightening, right? This is good for people to hear this. This is good for people to understand, like, the importance of, said, one position, how it affects everything else on the field.
It does, and it's a constant with me. It's a constant thing, and the kids have changed. I think 2020 is going to be with us for a long while in a lot of different ways. You know, just so many different. I just noticed that the kids are a little bit different. They're just smart. I have a generation of quarterbacks that are smart, but I found out that I have to do more coaching with kind of connecting dots with them. Before, I could tell guys, hey, go do X, and they would do it, and they would kind of figure things out. And now I got a group of kids that are highly intelligent, but I have to do more of kind of saying, like, for instance, I have 10 things that I think that are really important if you want to be elite. So one of them is, first and foremost, you got to become an everyday guy, right? We talked about the difference between playing quarterback and being. If you want to be really, really good, you got to become an everyday guy. There's no way around it. You can't negotiate, and there's a way to do that. Then there's 4 things that you need to work on in addition to that. You need to work on your lonely work, and you have to show them what that is. You can't just tell them. The QBIQ stuff, getting stronger. And when I get stronger, not only the weight room, but the kids right now, their hands are weak. Their fingers are weak. You probably grew up, remember this big thing about grip strength, right? And the rice balls and squeezing thing. Because of the way they grow up, I'm not being a curmudgeon, but they grew up with their thumbs. They're not doing, where's my country guard? They're not doing chores. They're not pulling. And I'm not saying you have to go back to that life.
They're not jungle gymming.
They're not doing that.
They're not climbing trees.
And so what happens is I get a lot of young kids who can't grip a ball. And I'm like, you need to. Well, I'm not saying that.
I'm saying they're soft.
We said it. I'm just saying, so for me, the strength thing, you'll get that. Well, here's the thing. Things change, but I'm always looking for what gets left behind. So if you put a kid in the weight room, that's great, but what's left behind from court, his hands are weak. So let's get your grip strength up. And then athletic development. So lonely work, IQ, strength development, athletic development. Again, grades, 40 time. So I don't care how fast or slow you think you are. You need to start working on it. And nothing against trainers, but I'll go, when's the last time you ran full speed? 3 months ago. I go, start that process. Let's run full speed a couple times a week, then worry about going to get into training. The running and jumping is big, right? And so with these things, so those are 4. Then we have 5 areas that I call championship habits, which are time management, your sleep, your nutrition, your hydration, and here's the one, how hard you work. I tell a 9th grader on, if you want to be good at your age, every day, you should be working so hard that after 10 or 15 minutes, you are dripping in sweat. I mean, just drenched. I don't care what sport you're doing or what it is. And so to my point, like, I have to show the kids what that means. So we had a series of, I had specific one-on-ones, and I would take them. And I would just do the simplest thing we had one, it was a little 4-cone drop drill, and we had them do it for however many minutes, and it would like drop, shuffle, drop, but they'd go around 3 times, take a break, and then have them go again. There was another one where I had them just drop 5 yards, shuffle, drop 5 yards, shuffle, but then I took them over to the hill. There's a little hill. So we're one leg up, left leg up, right, we're backpedaling up, and we're sprinting up. And all total, it took about 4 minutes, right? It was a minute for each of that's how I did it. It was a minute for each of this thing, except for the hill. At the end, they were dripping in sweat. I said, you could do different activities, but you need to be working this hard every day. And from a quarterback perspective, for me, it is the foundation of their leadership, right? There's 2 things you need to lead. First, you got to have vision. There's no leadership without vision, right? If you want to be a quarterback, what is it you want to do with the team? Don't tell me you just want to be the high school quarterback. You want to be a quarterback, what is it you want to do with your school? You haven't won, you haven't beaten a rival, you haven't had a 500 season, you haven't won a district champ. What is it you want to do? That's the first thing. Then 2, if you're working that hard every day, what you have an opportunity to do, and that's the way you move all the time, then you're getting into the area where it's not how hard you work, it's how hard you inspire other people to work. Because on every team, right, there are people there that are willing to work hard, but they kind of lay back a little bit, especially these kids, because they don't want to seem different. But if you're the guy out there moving, then you give permission to the other guys to kind of come with you, right? And I really believe in
setting the tone.
And I really believe in the theory of thirds when it comes to coaching teams. I've coached basketball too. Is if you give me a basketball squad of 15 people, 5 of those guys are going to do whatever I want them to do. They're just going to do it. Their grades, their GPA are going to reflect it, and that's what they're going to do. 5 of those guys are likely to, every time I say I need you to go left, they're going to, hey, coach, why are we going left? Wouldn't right be better? And then some of them are just going to go right just because. It's that middle third that are kind of agnostic. They can go either way, right? They're going to be led one way or the other, and I got to make sure as a team that that middle 5 is led this way. And I can only get that is if those examples that I'm putting out front are pulling in that direction. I need to make sure the gravity moves in that direction, that you can see the rewards are here by following these guys that are saying, so not here. And then what happens to the bottom third, say if there's 5 of them, 3 of them are kind of going to go that way, and 2 are going to get uncomfortable, and they're gone, and my team's a lot better. I'm down to 13. True.
That's every team that you work with. Every team that you work with.
And it starts with, if I'm going to take the ball, right, I can do all this stuff just like I can get cerebral about what we're doing, right? But at the end of the day, if you're not just playing quarterback, you want to be, you've got to give me these 10 things. And if I follow you around, right? If I follow you around, your actions should kind of indicate that this is what you want to do. So don't tell me one thing and be another. Anyway, as a leader, you have to be able to identify that, right? Because that becomes part of managing people. Yeah.
Every team that I've been on, I'm talking about sports aside, every team that I've been on, you always find yourself with that one individual or 2 individuals who will run through the wall for you no matter what. You always find the 1 or 2 individuals that are going to say what for. Right? And then you're going to have that 1 or 2 individuals that are just going to do whatever they want. And you are relying on the first 2 or 1 or 2 to really pour into the rest of those people, and hoping that the middle ground shift over and gravitate towards your top folks.
I firmly believe that the standard for any team is set from the bottom.
Right.
So
that's very true.
Whatever you have going on down there is really going to affect your team.
You're only as strong as your weakest link.
Because it can take you the other way. I told you I coached basketball. The last time I coached, I was 15-1. I was over at Woodson. And you know Woodson basketball, Coach Craig, historic. And the way that team happened, one, they were really good players. And I had a buddy of mine, and he said, I want you to – he should have been the guy coaching, but he said, I want you to coach the team. And I said, I'll coach it if you pick it. And to your point, we kept the team of 15. And at the end of the roster, it was like 14 and 15. I told him, I said, I'm going to pick these guys. And his eyes almost flew out of his head. And this is a guy who worked with the Redskins, had done stuff for the Panthers, Utah Jazz, and everything else. And he says, don't choose those guys. Take these 2. And I said, why? And he basically explained to me. He says, these are probably the most important picks you have on your roster. And he began to explain to me why these 2 should be in that spot, mainly because they were going to do everything that was asked. They're going to be really grateful on the roster, and they would work really hard, versus the other 2 that I was looking at on a talent basis. He says, you got what you need here. So then they're going to be begging for real estate all the time. And if they weren't in this group, then they're not going to really do that much good. So anyway,
poison the team essentially.
So anyway, it's the quarterback stuff.
Man, look, I was going to ask a bunch of questions about you explaining, but you did it all. You did it all. Man.
I always find it interesting. Like no matter what position you play, it's always alignment, assignment, right, and then technique and footwork. For the D line, it's very simple, right? For me, it was translating from a coach that was like 6-inch power step, 6-inch power step, 6-inch power step. Yeah. Why are you getting hooked? Yeah. Why are you getting reached? Yeah. Why aren't you reading? And then finally, my junior year, going into my senior year, I finally had a coach that said, V or the neck. Yeah. That's where you're reading.
Right.
Your guy can only do 4 things. Yep. He's going to go that way. Yep. He's going to come at you. Yep. He's going to try to scoop you, or he's going to pass block.
So just to pick up with you, when I went to college as a quarterback, but I converted to defensive back. So I was on the dark side, right? and it was funny. I'd never played defense before, and I was just talking to the coach about this. And you kind of speak to it. So I'm back there, and I'm doing a lot of stuff I hadn't done before, and now I'm looking at this whole picture, and it seems like there's a lot of stuff that can happen every snap. And especially when they moved me to safety, and I had that kind of epiphany. And the epiphany was, wait a second, I only got 1/11 of this Billy. I don't have half of it. I got 1/11. So what do I have to do? I have to line up the right way.
Yep.
And then as a safety, my feet have to be positioned depending on where I thought I was going to have to cover. And then I had to get my eyes on the read. Whatever my read was, I had to get my eyes on that,
yep.
right? Now, not D lineman, but moving back, you have read steps. I had to take my read steps and do what my key told me. So if my key told me it was pass, boom, my eyes are going to my threat, and I'm doing this. If he told me it was run, then I'm coming downhill, inside out, and doing that. I go, well, that's pretty easy. So it reduces it down.
Yep.
And by the way, with quarterbacks, as much as you load them with information, the idea is that at the end of the day, you want all of it to be a simple decision.
Man.
But they're processing very quickly a lot of different variables
So you can play fast.
to come up with the right decision. I think I heard somebody said it the other day, talk about developing quarterbacks. Most of the quarterbacks come to me with the want to.
Right.
My job is to figure out the how to. Right? They want to do something, and I've got to figure out how to help them do that. And that takes into account all different learning styles and behaviors and maturity levels and abilities and stuff. So that's really my job, is like, how can I figure out how to help him do what he wants to do? And then sometimes that is having a firm talk with the young man and say, you're not matching up or doing that. And then sometimes it is backing the parent off and just saying, hey, let him go. He's doing all right. He's having fun. He's doing so that in that case, I'm helping him how to do. I don't know what he's going to be, that type of thing. So
for me, it's just it's how you teach the game of football.
Yeah.
I love how you teach.
Yeah.
You're teaching it,
Yeah.
right? Because I didn't learn how to play football until my sophomore, junior year of college.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was pure athleticism before that,
Yeah.
and I always take the time to pay homage to the teachers, the mentors out there. I can't wait to continue to build the relationships with you guys and continue to maximize your guys' exposure to the community. And I get very excited when I see the mentors that our area has, because to your point and what we always talk about, there's so much talent in here,
so much.
in this area, and I love when I see the men in our community taking the time to develop the younger men, younger men in our community, because I think that's important.
Yeah.
And in 2025, where we talk about all the isms and things that are going on, awesome to see men developing young men. And I really, really do appreciate the services that you provide for our community, man. It's really important.
I think you hit it on the nail, the teaching.
Yep.
Like that goes back to the social media trainers, right? Like you want to be flashy. You're breaking the game down. And I've learned a lot just sitting here with you. I learned a lot about the quarterback position. That stuff I don't want to say didn't think of, but didn't necessarily understand. Right? Yeah. So like to Drew's point, man, just thank you for doing what you're doing for the athletes in our area. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And just I'm excited to see what's next, because I know you got some kids going into the playoffs. You want to talk about those?
Last year, sometimes people say, what makes you different, right? So one of the things that makes me different is I do it full time. So, not to say anybody does it full, I do it full time. So
that's definitely different.
It is.
I had a session this morning, right? And I may have one this afternoon, and I've got the high school stuff. But right now, as it runs up, 14 of the guys that we've trained or got their teams in the playoffs. Now, what they do from here on out. But like last year, there were 15 guys that got their teams to the playoff. 5 ran their teams to the regional championship games, and 3 got their teams, undefeated teams, by the way, to state championship games. And then we have one guy, Luke Warrer, who got his team through, and he was the 4th undefeated state championship quarterback that we had in the last 6 years.
Wow.
That's
so
awesome.
Obviously, great teammates and great teams and outstanding coaches in all those areas. But to the extent that the quarterback on that team kind of helped, lubricate the process, there's some small part in that. But those are all Fairfax Football Academy guys, that did that. And then we have about another 20 or so that are playing in college. It was a 25 a few years ago, but some of the guys have graduated. That includes a few guys who've converted to tight ends. Like we have Brian Courtney that was at Florida State. Now he's at Tennessee Tech. Noah Kim will be playing here in a little bit. Billy Edwards is at Wisconsin, but he's been hurt. And then Grant Wilson is at ODU behind the Mendoza guys. We have a lot of guys at Division II. Charles Mutter, who was down at Emory and Henry, and we have Tyler Knutson at Emory. So it's gotten to the point where not only do my guys sometimes play each other in college, but it's been multiple times we have multiple quarterbacks in the same quarterback room,
Right.
which is really cool too. And then sometimes, like at Emory Henry, they wind up in the same team with the receiver that always comes out. So Landon Murphy is a really good receiver. He's down there. And there's Charles Mutter, Tyler Knutson, and then a guy I worked with a little bit, Eli Washington. Okay. So they're all guys that have a connection to Fairfax Football Academy. Yeah. They're all sitting down. Hey, you know Coach Thompson? Yeah, no Coach Thompson. You know? That's awesome. So that's pretty good. And then they're at all levels. Yeah.
One thing I want to ask before we get you out of here is I have a lot of former teammates who are passionate about developing young athletes.
Yeah.
They know the game at a high level.
Yeah.
They just can't get out of their own hamster wheel to make it full time, like you.
Yeah.
What do you say to the guys who have a passion to be a resource in the community?
I am a resource.
You're a resource.
You told me
man.
I'm a
You're a resource in the community.
No, I mean, my wife comes home and she asked me to do something. I said, you asked me to take a trash. I'm a resource now. I like it.
Hey, man.
But the business part of it.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of those guys have a passion. They have a dream to develop young athletes, right? Because they feel like they've paved a specific way, and they want to honor the game by passing the baton. But and I don't want to call anybody out, but I have a buddy who he's on the slave ship of Amazon, right? And he tries to gain clients. But he just can't get out of the rut. How did you transition?
I'll just tell you what I did.
Please.
I'll just tell you what I did. Yeah. So, you're entrepreneurs, both of you. And so just think about when you very first started thinking about this idea and coming up, just maybe like your friend, right? And if you go back in the Wayback Machine, I don't know personally, but my bet is you spent at least a couple of days, figuring out the website, figuring out it's important, but the business card and figuring out, you know what I mean? Like a lot of stuff that you thought was important, but it wasn't necessarily generating business.
Boom.
Okay. So what happened was I was doing that. So let me back you a little context. So I'd gone to an Elite 11 event and worked with, it's another whole story, but it's some great stories. But I worked, so anyway, when I come from that event, everything that I saw, I said, okay, this is it. I want to do this. And if I do it the same way they do it, why can't Northern Virginia quarterbacks be just as good as that? And fast forward to 3 years ago, on one weekend, I'm gonna get to your question. The quarterback from Yorktown, West Springfield, and Westfield were the starting quarterbacks at Michigan State, UVA versus Tennessee, and ODU versus Tech. So boom, there it is, happened. But how did it happen? So I get home and I tell my wife I want to do this, and I start doing the entrepreneurial stuff. And it was like a Wednesday. Remember, I said I want to do this for a living. And it was like a Wednesday. And I said to myself, shouldn't you be at work? Like, if this is your job, don't you go every day to your work? I was sitting there on a Wednesday doing stuff. I was busy. I was getting quotes and doing that. But I said, shouldn't you be at work? And the answer was yeah. And I said, well, go get to work. So priority 1 through 7 became, can I just find anybody I can get on the field so that I'm on the field 5 days a week. I've gone to work 5 days a week. And I can say, I am a quarterback trainer. I do this full time. That was the biggest thing I did. So there's a model out there to get the business. And
sounds like there's a leap.
Yeah, well, you got to go do it.
Yeah.
But you get the business, and what happens is your clients will tell you what bells and whistles you need. And you'll find out that you spent some time on some stuff they'll never even ask you for. So get the business and then go work the business. So to your friend, if he wants to make this a part-time thing, then he's got to define, okay, how many times are you going to be on the field? So if his plan is, I'm going to be on the field Friday and Saturday, and I'll do this for 2 hours. That's how he's declaring part-time. All right, go find 4 people. 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour. Or I would say go get 3 people because group pricing is better, and I think group stuff has it. But just go get it done. Like, don't even worry about the money. Get that done. Then once you do that, somebody says, do you train? Yeah, I train these 4 guys. You know what I mean? It's like if you tell me you want to start a social media company, and I go, where's your social media company? They go, well, we're working on it. If you say you start a social media company, you say, where's social media? Oh, here's the thing right here. Here's dot, here, boom, right? It's a different thing.
Yep.
Now, you haven't made any more money when I made the conversation, but you're in business now.
Right.
And so I think that's it. And then the other thing is just make sure, because I knew as a younger person, I couldn't coach. Like, I didn't get involved in coaching until 20 years after school. It's been the biggest surprise of my adult life. In fact, I'm doing this. But one of the reasons I didn't do it earlier is I knew part of coaching was coaching guys that were less than and would get less than effort, right? And as a young guy, all I could see in that scenario is me choking somebody, right? But I knew it was part of coaching, right? So I said, I don't have any business in that because I'm going to run up on somebody who I'm not going to tolerate because I wouldn't tolerate him as a
What does that sound like?
Yeah.
I was going to get to it. I was going to get to it. I was going to let him finish talking, but I was going to get to it.
Yeah. But as I matured, then I began to understand the value of just helping someone get better. And so then it was time for me to coach. I just landed into it. It's not bad, right, that you have that view. But what happens to that type of guy is he only wants an elite type of effort. And okay, the problem from a business standpoint in that model is that elite athletes don't live in a cluster.
Boom.
They're over here. So it's going to be very tough from a business standpoint to aim somewhere and get them.
Aim at the elite.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, you can aim at them and you'll get them, but they're going to ask a tougher question. Like, I'm already elite. Well, like, what do you
have to offer?
What are you going to do for me, right?
That's it.
So it becomes a tougher proposition, whereas if they can get their mind around whatever their purpose is for helping someone,
Development and
whatever it is, whatever their purpose is in helping someone, why are they really doing it? Then they'll easily attract people because people just run to good. You know, you're doing. So I'm running to you guys because you're doing good stuff, and people are attracted to what you're doing. People just naturally run to good, and so if what they're doing over there is good, you know, those people are going to talk, and he'll have a business before he knows it. But definitely go get the business. Have whatever. If he wants to go full time and go crazy, because Amazon's bringing in robots and everything else right now, like go get 5 people, or he can do it after work. He doesn't work 24 hours a day, does he?
I'm not sure.
So then he could, or whoever it is.
He could work 24 hours out of the day, half of it being with this stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, he could just set that, like, I'm going to get 6 clients.
Yep.
And I'm going to be on the field Monday through Friday.
Consistency.
Yeah, just to say that you did it.
Yep.
So, yeah, I work 5 days a week. Not like I'm waiting for somebody to come by. So that was the biggest thing that I did.
Yeah.
I just got the business.
No, that was great, man. And I think it's a testament to our story too. Yep. Like, we just went out and did it.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't know how we were gonna do it. We just went out and did it. You know, because Martin Luther King said you don't have to see the entire staircase to take the first step.
Right.
And that's what faith is.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm gonna end on that because I think that's a great quote.
Yeah.
But yeah. Barry, I appreciate you coming or having us today.
Yes, man.
When the resources profile does drop, man, I would love to connect back with you to get your profile set up and start connecting you with people, you know, within the entire region or whoever we are able to market to. If there's young developing quarterbacks that are coming up through the community, or maybe not in the community, North Carolina, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, that want to come down, we'd love to be able to put you on to that type of those type of opportunities, because we think what you're doing for our community is great, and if we can replicate that into
we can turn
a
you
national
into,
scale,
right.
So just a quick plug. We're entering the winter training phase of our program. So we have FairfaxFootballAcademy.com. Get on our email list. We have the best indoor training program for quarterbacks, and we've been doing it for 8 years now. There's not a better indoor training program during the winter months for quarterbacks around limited space. We sell it every year, so get on the email list. And then shortly, if you're on an email list, there's an announcement coming out. We're going to do a crash course for rising 9th grade quarterbacks and their parents. We have so many guys crossing from flag, stepping in, and there's a lot that they don't know. And through a 4-week process that's going to be in session and online, we're going to educate them and their parents so they can get a full run-up as to how they want to prepare for that freshman season. So those are the 2 things.
Give us that website one more time.
Yeah, FairfaxFootballAcademy.com. When you get to the homepage, just scroll down, get on the email list. There'll be an email list. Email will be coming out every Sunday, starting this Sunday. It's the best way to get up with everything that we're doing. But those 2 things are coming up, the winter training and then this crash course for rising freshman quarterbacks.
Cool, man.
Really good. Yeah.
And where can people find you on social media?
Fairfax Football Academy on Instagram.
At Fairfax.
And then, Twitter, I need to change it, but it's VAQB8, V8 Virginia Quarterback 8. I don't know why I came up with that. Maybe I'll change it.
All right.
But just generally, Fairfax Football Academy will get you to wherever we are.
Yeah. Brent, you want to plug anything in?
Yeah, you know, the usual, guys. Tap into Dogvisors, www.dogvisors.com, at Dogvisors across all our social media platforms. If you guys need any video work, you need photography, if you need just graphic edits, we can take care of all that for you. Just make sure you tap in with Dogvisors.
Levelsapp.ai. If you are an athlete seeking to be recruited to gain exposure, gain your education on the recruiting process, most importantly, gain opportunities to connect with people like Barry, go on to your Apple or your iPhone Apple Store and download Levels Recruiting. We are working on the phases of getting the coaches on there, university coaches on there. We have a handful of university coaches that are test piloting it for us right now. So the 2,500 athletes that are already on there, you're already in a net that we're trying to capture and pull over to at the university level. So yeah, appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
And hopefully we can do this again soon.
Yeah, whatever.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Peace out.